Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick.
This is a less hairy Justin.
Welcome to another upgrade tech video, something we haven't done in a little while.
Yeah, and this time, because it's 2.0, we're going to talk about the best card ever.
The best card in 2.0 Trickshot.
Yep.
So, yes, I've had a few more requests to do these videos. We're taking a little break from the Hangar Bay videos, so while I've got Justin over, we should record some other stuff. And
Exactly.
we talk about this card frequently.
It feels like we nearly always staple it onto any sort of ship when we've got some points to spare.
Pretty much, like in every Hangar Bay video, it comes up at least once. And I want to talk about why this card has me just so jazzed, and the reasons that you should be looking out for cards like this in the future. Maybe for you newer players who watch my videos and think, hey, why do you keep mentioning Trickshot? Well, we're going to explain why. Yeah. Because it's just such a great card. So as more waves come out, yeah, we might get some just more big, dumb, efficient things like Trickshot happening in the game.
Yeah.
This is what I would describe as a value card.
Very much so.
I've spoken about the definition of these in a previous video, so I'll pop the link in the description up there so you guys can watch it. Because Trickshot is something that can go onto just about any ship with a talent, and you can derive a lot of value out of it.
Well, there's always going to be, at the start of the game at least, 6 obstacles to use it with, and you either may get more or less, so
that's true.
You might as well use it.
In Epic, we might get even more than 6. And the thing of it is, it's only 2 points. Last video I made on the Upgrade Tech series was on Leia Organa, and we spoke about the potential floor versus the potential ceiling, i.e. the worst case scenario for a card, which is probably what you're consistently going to get, versus the best case. And the floor on this card, or the consistent worst case scenario that we're going to get, is actually pretty decent. It usually seems to trigger, at least in my experience, once a game. Like
minimum, I reckon. Yeah.
Minimum. Like, if you can get it working twice or 3 times, you're getting serious value out of those 2 points. And frankly, I think it's worth it just for 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. And it's always interesting, like, seeing cards like this. We actually had a discussion before, because you're a first autopilot, talking about potentially putting it on Quick Draw instead of Fanatical. And I think that's actually a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, Fanatical is a good card insofar as it automatically changes a focus to a hit.
I like Fanatical a bit more on Quick Draw because I think you have better agency to exploit it.
Yeah.
And it does not require any positioning, where Trickshot does. Having said that, the fact that we're even having the conversation about it when we have like a really powerful faction-specific card to take instead is pretty much an indication of how powerful Trickshot is.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if this did not go up by at least a couple of points the next points change. I think even at 4 points, it's still very usable.
Yeah. 4 points, gosh.
It's offensive dice mods. We just don't have efficient options for that.
We don't. And that's what's so great about it. At 2 points, even 1 point, it was just bonkers.
Oh yeah, when it first came out in 2nd edition, it was 1 point. When it originally came out in 1st edition, it was 0 points.
And I forgot that. I completely forgot that.
It came out in Heroes of the Resistance. So with Poe Dameron and Han Solo on the Falcon for the Rebel/Resistance. It was a weird kind of era where we didn't have sub-factions.
I was going to say, that sort of explains it, because I never use those factions, so I wouldn't be looking at those cards.
Yeah, and it's weird because at 0 points it saw significantly less play, which just goes to show how busted talents were in 1st edition.
Yeah, well, you had so many other 0 point cards that were just as good, if not better.
In the 0 point slot for talents, we also had Adaptability and a Score to Settle.
Yeah.
Both strong options. I don't think it was a pretty strong case to just take Adaptability when you didn't have a choice. If you had pilots that were offset by a pilot skill of 1, as in you had an 8 and you had a 9, you take Adaptability to make them both 9s.
Yeah.
Pilot skill match and all that kind of stuff. Score to Settle was okay. It saw some fringe play on Omega Leader at 1 point. But the main reason a Trickshot didn't see play, in fact, the main reason none of these saw a lot of play, is because of the busted options you could take, like Veteran Instincts, Push the Limits, Expertise.
Just push the limits. That's all you need to say.
Push the Limits was the just crazy card in the talent slot. Even though it cost 3 points, it didn't matter. The opportunity cost of not taking cards at that power level was too great. And that's why things like Trickshot didn't really shine through. In second edition, we don't have things like that, so Trickshot, it just has really high value in the current environment thanks to just where it's sitting in second edition. I think that's why FFG originally undercosted it, because they kind of treated it like it was in that first edition environment. There are no free talents anymore, so basically anything that was free, they'd give that effect a 1 point cost.
Yeah, and you look at it going, that's 0.5 of a card in first edition, that's ridiculous.
It's fine. It's basically still 0 points as far as I'm concerned. Now it's 2 points. That's still very, very good because it's not competing with things like Veteran Instincts, which would be the equivalent of 2 points now. And that's just really, really awesome. There's a reason we keep talking about this card. Is because getting extra red dice is just something you don't get this efficiently in the game.
The only way you could get them these days is with either missiles, torpedoes, or a cannon.
Yep, and that's like once off attacks, you need target locks. The only cannon that upgrades most dice is heavy laser cannon. That must be in the bullseye firing arc. Stipulations. And Trickshot seems to be relatively free if you just exploit it the right way. And let's talk about how to exploit it just the right way, because I play with it quite a lot. You not so much. Empire and First Order doesn't really fit in those factions as well.
I used to fly Trickshot with Blackout, but Blackout just wasn't doing enough for me at the time.
It's tricky. You're straight down the line ace that just has a good efficient action economy. Even with repositioning, it can be tricky. It's certainly a high value thing if you can get it to work. The problem is with Blackout, if you don't get Trickshot working, you're also not getting your pilot ability working.
Yeah.
Which sucks. And you can't stick it on Kylo, because Kylo is a force-using pilot. They don't take talents.
And hates it even better anyway.
That's, exactly right. And the example of Quick Draw that we mentioned before, I think Fanatical is probably the more safer option. But look, the faction-specific talents is a whole other conversation, which we'll get to in other videos. Having said that, it still is a viable option on Quick Draw for sure. And it's still not a crazy thing to take on generic ties on the First Order.
No.
But again, Fanatical, that's where the conversation is around. Me personally, I'm predominantly a Scum player. I'm also a Resistance player. In fact, no, it's fantastic on both of those factions. So let's talk about that for a second. One of the key things that Trickshot is fantastic with is larger bases and more versatile arcs. I think that's one of the key things. In fact, what I flied on most is Boba Fett. And Boba Fett has a forward and rear facing arc, plus he has a native boost. So he has repositioning. He also has the ability to ignore rocks with Kira. In fact, we do need to talk about the Scum faction and Kira, also Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon, how they get extra value out of Trickshot. Kira can target lock a rock. You then ignore the rock, except what's really happening when it says ignore, and this has been clarified in the rules, you get all the benefits from shooting through that rock, i.e. you get to activate your trick shot, you get to activate Han, you get an extra dice when you're defending through the rock, but your opponent gets none of those bonuses.
Which feels pretty bad.
It feels pretty bad, and it leads me to think that maybe Kira will go up in points the next points change. I don't know, maybe that means Boba Fett can come down. I don't know, that's a whole other conversation. Kira is just very, very efficient right now. In case you guys haven't seen Paul Heaver flying this list with Boba Fett Kira, I believe he takes Trick Shot and Slave 1 or a different talent or something like that.
That sounds about right.
It sounds about right. I fly it myself. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. It's getting more value out of an also extra value card. But that does not only have to happen when you have combos. It works great on Boba Fett without Kira or Slave 1. It works great on ships like the Millennium Falcon without the Han pilot. Even on the Resistance, as bad as that Falcon is right now, and it's not seeing play at all in terms of the meta, it's a great option for that ship as well. It's a great option for the Rebellion Falcon, because having larger bases gives you extra reach on those arcs. Having dual arcs, as in ones that rotate or ones that are just locked in the front or the back like the fire spray, are all really, really important. And that increases the opportunity and reduces the opportunity cost from taking something like this. It's just really, really big, dumb and powerful. Probably the main reason also why we don't see it on the ace factions like the Empire and First Order, without those versatile firing arcs. Maybe if the Decimator has a bit of a push in terms of power level.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be very nice. That's something that a lot of people are asking me to talk about in the junkyard, and yes, we will get to that, don't worry. But that's one of the key things. The second is repositioning, and specifically repositioning that has a high amount of versatility. We're talking high initiative, but we're also talking about the more creative repositioning like that of the Star Viper. I personally have played... You're looking at me going, oh yes, I know. I know.
That Star Viper, it's tricksy.
You don't know where it's going to go. This is also relevant, or would be relevant on Kylo Ren, but he can't take it. Neither can Vader, despite all their action economy. But a pilot like Guri at Initiative 5 being able to do curved barrel rolls, the Star Viper being able to swing its arc on a 45 degree means it's much easier to line up those shots. You can hide behind rocks much more easily with Guri, and that's where cards like Trick Shot just get more and more value. And when you look at those options, when you look at the ability to swing arcs around, when you look at the ability to have multiple arcs, reposition, all that kind of thing, you're getting more value out of a card which frankly is already pulling its weight at 2 points on just about any platform.
100%. Yeah, no, just I'm nodding because I can't say anything else.
The man has no arguments, people. Listen to Justin and me. Yeah, and that's just what I wanted to make a video just focusing on this card and trying to explain from our point of view why we keep talking about this card and why there's a very good chance it's going to go up in points, and I'm going to make a video just like raging at FFG.
But
and
all about the dice salt.
All about the dice salt, that's right. But look, points changing on cards is something we have to face. Your pet card is probably going to change in points at some point. It's just how it's going to be, unless you just love just ultra jank that sees no play at all. And once again, guys, if there's any particular card you'd like us to have a chat about, please let us know in the comments section. We're focusing mainly on cards that have a lot of impact in terms of meta play, but also like really spicy cards that are relevant in casual as well. More than happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think these conversations are very interesting, and it's very important specifically for new players to understand when they see a card across the table, they can go, oh, that's a card that's been talked about. I know the implications of when my opponent's playing that, so you don't just get dunked on by a really dumb effect and you go, oh, I feel bad about that.
Well, also, if you know what that card is, you can then work to your advantage.
Absolutely. Oh, and when you see someone playing Trick Shot across the table, be aware that they may be inclined to try and exploit it. And that way you can exploit the way they're flying, kind of like a double think the way they're doing everything. Poker. We do we do play poker when we play X-Wing sometimes, and that's okay. That's one of the parts of the games that I really enjoy. So yes, guys, be aware of this card. Be aware of its power level. Stay safe. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Reddit. Also, please consider supporting the Patreon as well. Links for all of that down in the description. Thank you so much to all of the existing patrons. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.